The observation deck of the Talon's edge had become an unlikely nursery. Arya Lorne sat cross-legged on the cold metal floor, surrounded by 7 Crethian cubs whose razor-sharp claws clicked against the deck plating as they tumbled over one another. Their obsidian scales caught the light of distant stars, making them look like living shadows with luminous amber eyes. Again, chirped the smallest one, Vresh, his forked tongue flicking excitedly. Arya smiled and tapped her datapad, replaying the documentary footage of Earth's great predators. The cubs watched with rapt attention as lions stalked across the savannah, their tails swishing. When the alpha male roared, all 7 cubs attempted to mimic it, producing sounds that ranged from adorable squeaks to surprisingly menacing growls. "Your people hunt these?" asked Krek, the largest of the cubs. His scales had already begun developing the crimson patterns that marked future warriors among the Crethian species. "Sometimes," Arya said. "But mostly we just coexist. We protect them, actually. They're endangered." The concept clearly baffled them. Crethians were apex predators on their homeworld, a species that had clawed its way to sentience through countless generations of survival. The idea that humans, soft, clawless, mostly hairless beings, would protect creatures that could easily kill them, was incomprehensible. "You are strange, Arya human," Vresh declared, settling into her lap with the confidence of a creature who had never known fear. His weight pressed down on her legs, but she'd grown accustomed to it over the 3 months since she'd been assigned as cultural liaison to the Crethian fleet. "I've been told that before," she said, scratching behind his auditory ridges. Vresh began to purr, a sound like gravel sliding down a metal chute. That's when she made her mistake. She yawned. 7 pairs of amber eyes locked onto her face with predatory intensity. The cubs went absolutely still, that eerie, reptilian stillness that preceded a strike. "What was that?" Krek demanded, rising to his full height of nearly 4 feet. "Your jaws opened. You showed weakness. Are you injured?" No, Arya said quickly, recognizing the concern in their postures. "I'm just tired. It's called yawning. Humans do it when we need sleep." "Sleep?" Another cub, Threx, tilted her head. "You mean dormancy cycle? But you did not seek your rest chamber." "Well, I wanted to spend time with you all," Arya admitted. "I can sleep later." The cubs exchanged glances, having one of their rapid, subsonic conversations that humans couldn't quite hear. Then Krek turned to her with unsettling determination. "You must enter dormancy cycle now. It is inefficient to delay. We have read your human protocols. Sleep deprivation causes system failures." Before Arya could protest, the cubs scattered, their claws clattering against the deck as they raced in different directions. She sat alone for perhaps 3 minutes, wondering what chaos she'd just unleashed, when Krek returned, dragging something behind him. It was a thermal blanket from the emergency supply locker. "Humans require warmth regulation during dormancy," he announced proudly, dropping it at her feet. The blanket was meant for treating hypothermia victims, and was roughly the size of a small tarp. Then Vresh appeared, struggling under the weight of a cushion he'd clearly torn from one of the crew chairs. "Soft surface. The humans in the archive videos rest on soft surfaces." "Wait," Arya said, but the cubs were already moving with military precision. Threx returned with another cushion. Then another cub brought a spare jumpsuit, carefully folded. A fourth had somehow acquired a nutrition bar, presenting it to Arya like a sacred offering. "Humans consume before dormancy," she said solemnly. Arya watched in bemused amazement as the cubs constructed what they clearly believed was a proper human sleeping area. They arranged the cushions in a surprisingly comfortable configuration, draped the thermal blanket over them, and even adjusted the lighting to a dimmer setting. "This is very sweet," Arya began. "But I should really go to my quarters." "No." The word came from all 7 cubs simultaneously, and for a moment, Arya remembered that these adorable little creatures would grow up to be 8-foot-tall apex predators who served as shock troopers for one of the galaxy's most formidable military forces. "You delayed dormancy to care for us," Krek said, his voice carrying a gravity that shouldn't have been possible from someone his age. "Now we care for you. This is pack bonding. We have read about it." Krek said. "We are your pack now," Vresh added, curling up at the edge of the cushion pile. Arya felt something warm and unexpected in her chest. She'd known the Krethians were loyal to their own, but she hadn't expected to be included in that circle. Not really. She was the human, the alien, the soft thing that needed protection. She settled onto the makeshift bed. It was actually quite comfortable, even if the thermal blanket was designed for someone twice her size. But then Threx climbed up and positioned herself near Arya's feet, her warm body radiating heat. Vresh pressed against her left side. One by one, the cubs arranged themselves around and partially on top of her, creating a living blanket of scales and warmth. "This is a bit much," Arya mumbled, but she was already feeling drowsy. The combined body heat of 7 Krethian cubs was better than any climate control. "Silence," Krek commanded gently, settling near her head like a scaly guardian. "You must achieve optimal dormancy. We will maintain watch." Through half-closed eyes, Arya saw the cubs exchanging glances, their tails intertwining in the Krethian gesture of unity. They were taking their duty seriously. These little predators, who'd decided she was worth protecting. When Captain Vrianel found them 2 hours later, she stopped in the doorway of the observation deck, her own amber eyes widening. The scene before her was unprecedented. A human buried under a small mountain of her cubs. All of them sleeping peacefully. The cubs had positioned themselves strategically, creating a fortress of scale and claw around their adopted pack member. The captain pulled out her communicator and took a photo. The High Council would never believe this without evidence. Humans had a reputation across the galaxy as survivors, as creatures who could adapt to anything, who could befriend anyone. But this was something else entirely. This was a human who'd somehow convinced the cubs of the Krethian Empire's most decorated warriors that she was worth guarding with their lives. Vrianal quietly sealed the observation deck and posted guards outside. Let them sleep. Tomorrow, she'd explain to Arya why the cubs had taken to calling her soft-hide pack-mother in their reports. Tomorrow, she'd mention that Krethian cubs only formed these bonds with those they considered family. Tonight, the predator cubs had learned about pillows and blankets and the strange human custom of sleeping for comfort rather than mere necessity. And Arya Lorne, cultural liaison and accidental pack-mother, slept under a peak of scales and devotion, dreaming of stars and the family she'd found among the universe's most unlikely friends. Retry Claude can make mistakes. Please double-check responses.